Alright guys, so I just made the last video talking about an overhauled gun, so I think it's only fair if I do it showing the opposite. Now we built a GMP DSG setup, was really cool, came around the end price for I think 840 bucks. Uh, that's going to be a lot cheaper than this, mostly because I'm not going to be adding on all the extra little teching parts. I showed you the things you need to look out for on eBay and whatnot to get all the tools necessary to do this custom work. But this is going to be a much more straightforward setup. So, in all honesty, common hand tools are going to be enough to do this. So, I already picked out a gun and curated this list. So I'm not going to be the video isn't going to be nearly as long as what it was before, but we're going to build an outdoor gun, just a very balanced outdoor airsoft gun. It's going to be budget oriented, so the gun itself is going to cost under $150. And to spice up a little bit, I picked this guy right here, a G3. These JG G3s are actually pretty freaking awesome. I had one of these way back in the day, bought Boneyard, and just didn't have the know-how to keep it running, so I ended up uh, selling it or throwing it away. I can't remember. But anyway, these build quality in these has actually gone up quite a bit since when they were new. When I got them, they were basically pool noodles, but like the barrel would wobble quite a bit. But these are much nicer. I've seen reviews on these in the last few years, and they're pretty doggone well built. Now you can see that this gun is 800, or excuse me, $139, 140 bucks. So that's not going to leave us a lot of room to upgrade this guy without completely overhauling it. And like I said, once you get to that, it's kind of pointless. You just if you're gonna overhaul this, but you'd be much better off buying a LCT G3 that is on the market now. Um, but let's go ahead and add this to the cart. Now we're gonna have roughly $140. I'm gonna extend that, like I said in my first video on this whole how to upgrade an airsoft gun thing. As long as you're within reason, so not over $50 plus of the MSRP on the gun, you're still all right as far as upgrades go. Because I know you're not going to be able to find things on sale, and things are just going to add up quite a bit. But I'm actually replacing quite a few of the structural components in this gun to make sure it's running really nicely. Now, the main thing that I'm going to be doing with this is I'm actually going to be getting rid of the gearbox. The gearbox in here is a JG version 2 gearbox, and I'm gonna be honest with you guys. Once you use like a high quality gearbox, you're not gonna want to use anything else. You can get the stock gearbox to work, but there's just it's cheap. It's cheap pop metal. Even if you radius it, it still can crack on you. It's just nice to upgrade to something a lot nicer. And I think the baseline that you should go for is a Lonix gearbox. Now you can go with the retro arms, but again, that's gonna knock out like 70% of our budget that we have for this. Um, you could also go with a Cyma, but these are going to be like side grades, most honestly, to the material. We're talking about the material of the gearbox itself. This is a very straightforward upgrade. Now, the benefit of this is that it actually comes with high quality bearings. We're not going to be running anything super ridiculous, so these bearings should be perfectly fine for this specific build. So we don't have to worry about buying bushings or anything and fitting those into the gun. These are going to come out of the box with it. You have high quality screws, Allen keys, washers, screws for the trigger switch and the cutoff lever included in the box, and a selector plate. So all these high quality parts are all included for $50. Really good buy. So we're gonna add that to the cart. Now the next thing we're gonna have to do is go for the gear set, and this is where eBay comes in to help. Actually, you can see it was in my cart recently. This gear set right here. Now these are gonna be basically the equivalent of like SHS gears from yesteryear, like Gen 1 or Gen 2 SHS gears, equivalent to ZCI gears, except they're much cheaper. Raptors Airsoft gear set. I believe that the strongest gear on these. Let me see how these are manufactured. I believe only the sector gear and the bevel gear. No, the sector gear and step gear I believe are CNC machined. While the actually no, I'm not sure of the manufacturing process. I need to double check on these. But you can see these are not made in the same factory as SHS gears. Somehow they're knocking down the price on these. I have a set of these 18 to 1s, and they're buttery smooth, buttery smooth. Very strong gear set. Add this to the cart, and you're saving a good $4.50 compared to SHS gear set. And it might not seem like a lot, but for a build like this, every penny counts. So we have that. We're also going to want to add a piston. Now, you don't have to, but again, I would recommend just upgrading the piston to a full metal rack piston. Again, we're not going to be running anything super stressful. The rate of fire is going to be really that high, so You don't really need a Kratos piston for that. This is going to be perfectly fine. I have a bunch of these JG pistons. Very good quality. The teeth are really strong. You can glue the rack in place, and they do survive pretty well. The material, the molding on these is hit or miss as far as the housing, but it's a very good piston. You also get a ball bearing piston head, which seals up really nicely. Good O-ring, good plastic material. It's not going to crack on you. It is more expensive than the Cyma piston that you can find on Evic's website, and a lot of people do swear by those pistons. However, because a lot of people like them, they go out of stock really quickly. Let's see, are they even in stock? Yeah, these right here. I've had these. These are good. The teeth on this one comparatively, the JG are about the same, maybe a little bit stronger. The molding on the housing is about the same as well, you know. But what is the real downside for me is the piston head. This is really cheap plastic compared to the polymer that they're using on these. I've cracked the piston head actually, and it has a giant chunk of metal in the back. It's like a block of metal. I'll show a picture of it. I still have sitting in my parts bin, but it's just a giant chunk of metal to hold this in place. So that's a lot of weight that you're carrying around that's not necessary. This one has a plastic stem that you screw it in the back of it, holding in the piston and bearings. So in my opinion, worth the extra dollar. So add that to the cart. So we have our gear set, we have our piston. Oh, it's actually asking me to sign in. So yeah, gear set, piston, and the gearbox housing. Another thing we're going to want to do for this gun, I'm want to change the inner barrel. Again, cheaper gun. Doing an inner barrel upgrade is going to be a really nice way to get some added performance into this thing. We could go 509. Again, not really necessary. That's the length of the inner barrel that comes with it. But a good quality 455 millimeter inner barrel is going to do just as well. We're not going to be losing any FPS or anything like that. We're going to be actually probably gaining FPS in all honesty. Steel barrel, ZCI barrels are really good quality, and they're cheap. So 25 bucks. Add that to the cart. And then I'm also going to want to add a upgraded hop-up bucking. Now again, not something you necessarily have to do off the bat, but I think it definitely is a worthwhile upgrade. For this one, I'm going to go with Garter 70-degree hop-up bucking. I hear these are great for outdoor guns, feed really nicely, get good air seal, and hop heavyweight BBs. So add that to the cart for $6, and we're Gucci there. You can do an upgraded pop-up chamber, although they're pretty expensive, and stock G3 hop-up chambers are already rotary style. As long as you're getting, you know, the barrels locked into place properly, the material could care less. You're going to get good seal and good feeding with it, and it's rotary style out of the box, so not really much of an upgrade other than unless you break it. The only reason you would want to change. Now these guns actually come chronoing pretty hot out of the box. I would imagine this chrono is around, probably settle around 380, 385 FPS on the stock spring. So no necessarily a reason to change out that. We should be fine with the stock spring, especially for this build. So we have gearbox, the hop-up bucking, inner barrel, so air nozzle. Definitely want to upgrade the air nozzle. And I'm also going to upgrade the cylinder on this one. Now the reason I'm going to upgrade the cylinder is that, again, cheaper guns like this, the cylinder quality is a lot less, is not as desirable. Having a good quality steel cylinder makes a huge difference as far as FPS consistency. I have a bunch of OEM cheap cylinders from, you know, old stock guns, and they work. They work in principle. Like when you test the compression, they don't seem like they're leaking, but when you put it in your gun, you're going to see drastic differences in FPS, and that's because the material just isn't as consistent across the entire bore of the cylinder. So having a Type 0 cylinder like this is going to add for much better consistency and much less resistance on the cylinder head compared to the stock. So I think this is a worthwhile upgrade, especially for an outdoor gun. If you want consistency and that kind of stuff, use that. Piston head, we should be fine. It's really the cylinder, because that's what we're going to have to worry about in the air nozzle. We already have the upgraded piston head, so we're good there. I'm checking all my bases here. So the cylinder. Another thing, again, since we do have a cheaper gun, I'm going to go ahead and do that spring upgrade, similar to what we had on the last one, but we can settle for a GMT. These are like SHS equivalents. Again, you come with safety selector, anti-reversal latch, tappet plates, trigger trolley, and cutoff lever springs. I mean, again, you don't really need to upgrade anything past this. This is plenty, but I do know for a fact that the springs on this stock gearbox are going to be pretty doggone weak from a JG. So getting an upgrade kit like this, definitely worthwhile. We could spend more money on the Lonix ones, probably very minimal differences in material, but saving every penny counts, especially for builds like this. Now we're also going to need a MOSFET. Again, nothing too crazy, just something that's going to allow us to be able to um, use LiPo batteries. I like Spark Labs MOSFETs. I had this one in my G3 for the longest. Works really well. It's just basic wiring harness. It's also really small, so you can actually solder on the Dean's connector directly to this portion right here, which makes it pretty much like non-existent that you have a MOSFET in your gun. You can also fit it on the inside of the gearbox, on the inside of the gearbox, like in the rear portion right here, if you really wanted to. But yeah, Spark Labs MOSFETs, 18 bucks, really worthwhile. I know X-Cortec and Acetec make some dual wire MOSFETs for cheaper, but they're bigger. And this is one I personally have experience with, so we're gonna go with this one. But just to see, spelled that wrong, I think. Yeah, this one right here is. I would also go for this 303304 MOSFET. This one pretty similar, going to be dual wire instead of a single wire, so you might get a little bit better performance, trigger response, and whatnot. But yeah, it's a little bit bigger, maybe not too much bigger. Actually, just looking at the price, I think I'm gonna go with this one. Yeah, I'm gonna go with that one. Saving, again, money counts here, so saving $7, pretty big deal. So let's update the shopping cart, and we have, just checking our bases, gearbox, bearings, selector plate, all that. Oh, we're not gonna be able to use a selector plate. What am I talking about? Anyway, we'll use a selector plate from the stock gun. Hop-up bucking, MOSFET, barrel, air nozzle. We need shims. Yeah, we definitely need shims. So we're gonna go down here. Prometheus shims, best in the business. Add 2 of those. Cart. So we're good there. Air nozzle. Then we got our cylinder, spring set. Gonna be using the stock cylinder, piston head, or spring guide, excuse me. Piston and the gear set. I think that's the last thing we're gonna use a motor, and the motor I've been really feeling is this one right here, guys. Basically, it's a JG Blue with the magnets you would see out of a Crytek 30K. Pretty much similar to that. It sounds like a stock motor on a 7.4, but as soon as you pull it, throw on a level 1 LiPo, it starts spinning up like a high torque motor. Those magnets make a really big difference. Runs pretty cool. The piston or the pinion gear is pretty strong. Fits in all types of gears, motor grips, and that kind of stuff. Good motor right here, 25 bucks. Definitely saving some money over ZCI. We're gonna get similar performance. Probably be a little more efficient too. So now that we have all that done, let's go ahead and add up the final bill. Go to the calculator. So we have 206 bucks. I'm not going to be factoring in shipping in here. Again, it's $10 here, about $5 from the other one. The other one's free shipping. I'm just going to be doing this compare price of the parts. $43 there. We have $9 here. And then we have $56 here. So $314 is our final bill. We subtract that from the original cost of our gun, and we have $175 in upgrade components. So again, that's only $36 more expensive than the MSRP of our Airsoft gun. And we actually could completely redo this. If you want to do a complete upgraded cylinder set, I'm talking, low neck cylinder set with a new cylinder head, or a better quality piston. You could easily just use the stock gearbox and not buy this. This is a $50. It's a pretty big investment, probably the most expensive part we have in the build. Get rid of this, use a stock gearbox. You could do ZCI bushings for $3, and then do upgraded cylinder head and you'd be saving quite a bit of money. But I think it's worth it, especially on a cheaper gun like this. Just getting a really good quality gearbox is going to make the entire upgrade process so much nicer. You don't have to worry about, the bushing is going to fit nicely. Is the gearbox going to crack? This is just going to be nice. You can still radius this, but for this build with a stock spring, you honestly would be fine using this gearbox without any further reinforcement of the shell. I have these heavy gearboxes, and they're really strong, really, really strong. So yeah, again, $36 more expensive than the gun itself. This is going to be a really balanced build, what I would recommend for this build. And you'd be expecting around the same FPS, probably a little bit higher because you have better compression. with that cylinder and piston head. Then out of the box, you have a tighter bore barrel with the higher up quality bucking. It can be a hop heavyweight BBs. You have that MOSFET, so you can use 11 ones, take advantage of this motor. I would expect this gun to shoot at least 20, 22 rounds a second on an 11-1 LiPo, shimmed properly, everything. Maybe even higher depending on how that spring breaks in. But yeah, this is going to be really nice. And if you really wanted to, heck, if you wanted to make this gun a little bit faster, um, you know, you could buy 13 to 1s. I know Raptors Airsoft makes 13 to 1s on here. Let's see if I can find them real quick. Yeah, same price, 13 to 1s right here. If you wanted to make it a little bit faster, a little bit better trigger response, this could definitely be a route you could go down. I just picked 18 to 1s, but yeah, same price, similar build quality, just gonna be a little bit faster. I would expect 13 to 1s. You could probably be scratching close to 30 rounds a second on this motor. I would say, well, maybe that's over exaggeration. Probably like 26, 27 rounds a second on 13 to 1s with this motor, but it's still pretty nice. But this is at least good for 20 rounds a second for what we have in here. So yeah, guys, that's a pretty, again, at the opposite side of the spectrum. We first did an overhaul, what you should do, and now we've done the complete opposite on a budget build, something that is properly upgraded. So the last thing we're gonna have to do is show you how to build a completely custom gun. So this is if you wanted to have a completely custom gun, you know, custom rail system, everything, to start from scratch. We're gonna do that in the next build. And it's gonna be way more expensive than the other two options, but yeah, to show you the thought process behind that. So hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll catch you in the next one. Take care.